The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. This is Comfortably Zoned Radio, and you're listening to the 50s. When bums and jints walk the streets of New York, my name is Peter Trunk. My co-hosts are Ralph Tycho and Ron Rabinovitz. Ralph, how you doing?
I'm fine, Peter.
Okay, and Ronnie, how are you?
I'm doing great, Peter.
Well, I'm buried under snow over here. I don't know, Ronnie, you're in Minnesota. Are you buried under snow, too?
No, we're not.
Oh, boy.
We're lucky.
You could have said, yeah, me too, Pete. You know, you could have.
I got news for you. We have enough snow. We don't need any more.
Oh, boy.
Just that it's 71, all of us are not buried, is a good sign.
That's a very good fact. Yeah.
Nice. I'm in California, and you guys are going to get something either in a future life for having lived through this winter or some reward somewhere along the line. It was absolutely torturous and still is. Tell us, we were talking a little off the air, Peter, what kind of snowfall have you had in the last 12 hours, which is going to become 24 hours?
Well, actually, we got two storms. The first storm was, this is the way they explained it, and for once they were 100% correct. The first storm hit us. It was driving sleet and ice, frozen conglomeration of rain, I guess it was, and some snow with it, and it iced up everything. And I looked out the window, and I opened the front door and looked out the glass door, and I said, this doesn't look that bad. I can still see the street. I can see the sidewalks. This is just accumulating on the lawns of people and the bushes and stuff like that. This ain't that bad. Linda looked at me like, my wife Linda looked at me like I was crazy. And of course she was right, because I was crazy. Of course that was the first storm. The second storm, what a lovely, lovely storm, started early this morning, and it was all snow. And it hasn't let up snowing since early this morning. And now, of course, it's dark here. And as I look out my window as I'm speaking with you right now, there are not one but two snow plows going through the street, plowing the snow, which only, I don't know if you remember this, I'm sure Ronnie knows this, but Ralph, you've been gone from this kind of weather for so long. No matter what you do, when the snow plows come through, they block you in again.
Sure they do.
And you have snow in front of your driveway that you cannot drive through. So you have to get your snowblower out again and go to work again and do the best you can. Now, the Dodgers and the Giants open up in 8 days, and I cannot believe this. This is just unbelievable. It really is disheartening to a baseball fan.
Excuse my ignorance. We lived in apartments when I grew up in a co-op, and I don't remember who did the snow or how it was done. But where do you have a snow blower? The snow's piled up in a right by the driveway or by the street. Yeah. Where do you blow the snow to?
All right, here's what you do. This is what I do. I keep my snowblower in the garage, of course. Now, here's the problem with that, guys. The problem with keeping your snowblower in the garage, and you have to keep it in the garage or else you're all covered with snow. So you keep it in the garage, and but if the power goes out, and this is a wet snow, the power could go out at any time. We lost power for 3 days the other day. Okay? When the power goes out, you can't open your garage door because your garage door is electric.
Right.
So if you can't open your garage door, you can't shovel. So Linda has me take out a regular shovel, snow shovel, from the garage, as the snow starts and puts it by the front door. So at least we can clean off our steps and the little walkway that leads to our steps for the mail person to come and deliver our mail. But when you open your garage, you go in there. I have it all ready. I have it facing out and everything. So when I open, if the garage door opens, if we don't have a blackout or a power outage, I go out there. I start the snowblower up, and what I do is I make a beeline down the side of my driveway while the snow is thrown. You can change the thrower to throw to the left, to the right, to the front, wherever you want. So I move it over
different directions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I move it over to the right to go on my lawn. So I'll make one beeline straight down to the street. Then I'll make it. Then I'll turn right. So I'll change that thrower over to the left side, the arm. I'll throw it to the left side so it goes out into where cars park in the gutter of the street, and then I'll go along my sidewalk like that. Then I'll come back, make it a little bit wider, like a little artsy thing. You make it a little wider and this and that. So, it's not as easy as it sounds, although there is a thing on my side. I have a very, very fancy schmancy snowblower that you don't have to push it. Okay, the wheels go by themselves. It's self-powered, so you just sort of like walk behind it, and you can change that speed, slow, medium, high, whatever, so you can actually walk fast behind it, slow behind it, whatever. It's a really great machine. It does a hell of a job.
You and Linda at Sears now. You want to be out of there in the worst way, go watch a ball game, but you got to buy a snowblower because winter's coming.
It's funny. It's funny. When I was walking my dog, my first dog, about 6 or 8 years ago, I'm walking down the street, and a friend of mine down the street, he says to me, "Hey, we're moving to Florida." I said, "Fuck you." I was pissed. I was jealous as hell. He said, "We're selling our house. We're moving to Florida." He says, "You want to buy my snowblower?" I said, "I'll take a look at it." He not only shows me the snowblower, he shows me what he paid. He shows the receipt and all that stuff. He shows the receipt for the snowblower and all this $726 and all. He says, I only used it 3 times. So I said, "Okay, fire it up. Show me how to use it." So he fires it. This is in the fall. This is like, it's 50 degrees and sunny. He shows me how to use it. This is how you do this. This is how you turn this on. This is how you turn this off. It can go backward. It can go forward. It can go 3 speeds. It can, all this stuff. So he's showing me all this stuff. I said, "Well, how much do you want for it?" Now, I figure if he paid $726 for it and he only used it a couple of times, he's going to ask me for $500 or $600.
Yeah.
He says to me, "Pete, I'll give it to you for $300. $300. I said, "Wait right here." I come back. I give him 3 $100 bills. He shows me how to drive it home. I didn't even push it home. I drove it home. It took me home. And so I have it for $300, and I've had it for 5 or 7 years now, and it's wonderful. It really is wonderful.
Firstly, how many times have you used it as opposed to his 3 times using it?
Okay. That's a fair question. Of course, you're both going to nod. I'm not going to be able to.
I mean
nod.
today. Today.
No. You're going to nod your head because you're going to understand this. When I first bought it, that first winter, I never used it. It never snowed. It hardly ever snowed at all. I used it 0 times. The second year, I used it once. Okay? 1 time. So in 2 years, I used it once. The third year, yes, I used it a few times. I used it like 4 or 5 times. It paid for itself. Now we're going into the 4th year that I own it, and it won't start up. So I have to call a guy, a handyman. I try, every October or November, I try to start it, make sure it's got new gas in it, change the oil, spark plug, all that shit. And I had to call a guy. A guy comes. He takes it away for like 6 or 7 days or whatever, brings it back, and it's in tip-top condition. and I had to pay him like $55 or $60 or something. He tuned it all up and all that shit, and now it works wonderfully. And the only thing I have to shovel is, with a regular snow shovel at my advanced age, is my front stoop. So it's only three steps,
right.
and I shovel that by hand.
This year have you?
How many times have you used it this year?
This year once.
The snowblower only once?
Used it once. I have.
Really?
Yeah, I forgot to tell you this. I have wonderful neighbors who, for whatever reason, love me. And sometimes I wake up in the morning and all my stuff is done. Like the guy next door did it. He had his snowblower out and he was doing all his stuff, and he just figured, I'll go over and do Pete's. And he came over and did mine. I didn't even see him do it. I didn't even know that he did it. I had to go over, get him a bottle of scotch, get a bottle of wine, whatever, and go over and give it to him and thank him profusely. But that happened.
You know what you can do? You can move to Florida and give him a good deal on a snowblower.
There you go.
And make everybody's life better.
That's right. I don't know why we live in these conditions.
I don't know if I want to live in Florida. Florida.
It's a nice place to visit, but it's...
Yeah, I know. I've done that many times, and I've enjoyed it.
It is what it is on a lot of different levels. Florida's fine. It's the Floridians that problem. Yeah. So if you could... and there are some Floridians that are just fine and dandy. They're living with the other Floridians, and that's dangerous.
That's the dangerous part. That's right. That's right.
So
all the folks that came down from New York and New Jersey and Philly, they're fine. But the other ones that walk down from Georgia or whatever,
born and raised. I'll tell you, I remember when the Piggly Wiggly wasn't even a Piggly yet. It was a Wiggly. It was Wiggly and Piggly. And that's all it was.
Yep.
But they made one business, and then there was another one. And I'll tell you what, this Mama and Papa grew big, and that's what I like about the South. You could still get big.
I worked for Piggly Wiggly one year. And I was in high school.
I never saw Piggly Wiggly anywhere but Florida. Is there?
Oh, there was one in Sheboygan.
Sheboygan.
Yep, there was one in Sheboygan. I worked as a carry-on.
Was Sheboygan an expression that Jack Benny used quite a bit?
He was from Waukegan.
Somebody did.
He was from Waukegan.
Waukegan. What? Yeah.
Oh, you know who was from Jackie Mason?
Jackie Mason, there's the guy.
He was from Sheboygan. He was from Sheboygan. That's right.
Rabbinical roots did Jack
Mason have. His father was a cantor. Yeah.
Epis a cantor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got a funny cancer story for you guys, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
It's simple. To me, it signifies the hypocrisy in organized religion. You ready for this?
Sure, go
I
ahead.
grew up with a kid, and I'm not going to mention his name on the air, but he had as good a singing voice as anybody in the neighborhood. He really did sing well. And his big lifetime dream was to get a contract singing, for a record company. As any kid that could sing, like any ball player, a kid grows up, whatever you're into, you can't blame him.
Yeah.
So never happens, but that's okay. He tried, and one day he applies for a job as a cantor in the shul. His family is observant. I don't know how observant, none of my business. So he has synagogue experience. I put that on the resume. Smelled the talus. We like you already. So what he does is, to get the job, basically, he lies on the resume and says that he got his singing experience is that he got a record contract. Now, I'm not the most. Believe me, I'd lie on a resume anywhere. That's not what my issue is. My issue is if you're going to lie, you don't lie on a resume in the house of God. If you believe in God. And if you don't believe in God, you shouldn't be a cantor in a church, in a synagogue.
Synagogue, right.
Definitely not a church. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
I thought about that stuck in my craw all my life. I can't forget this guy. I knew him since we were in the second grade together. You know, you grew up with somebody. And that's the people have done much worse in life. But people in my neighborhood, in my family, in my living room have done much worse. But
and he got the job.
And I'm alone in the living room. I want you to know. And but he just did. He just did something that made me think about it all my life. Like, if I were an observant person, would doing something like that preclude me from, credits or however observant people judge what's right, what's wrong,
I get it.
Pious,
I get it.
what's going to happen in
Did the guy get the job?
Future life. Pardon me? Oh, yeah, he got the job. As far as I know, I haven't followed along the lines. As far as I know, he still has it. And these jobs, a cantor it's a beautiful voice. So they recruit, your constituency wants to hear a pretty voice. These guys make some good part-time money all through life. Every Saturday is a gig. And there are very few musicians of any kind who can say for 40 years you could have a gig that's that steady. And Peter, you were a musician.
Well, I was in a band for a long, long time. I played harmonica. We played blues. We were a glorified Rolling Stones cover band, but I used to sing lead and play blues harmonica. But I don't know if I would lie about something that can be very easily checked up on. Also, forget the religion part of it.
I don't know. I don't know.
If I walk into a place and I say, Ralph, you should hire me because I have a record contract. Couldn't you just say, well, bring me your album, bring me your single, bring me your LP.
Would have said, but could you see a rabbi going, you got a record contract? Really? With a record? A record? You made a record in a machine? What?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Remember the old days when we grew up, guys? You literally could make a record. They had these things.
Oh, yeah.
Free tape.
Yes, you could.
You could make a personalized record.
That's right.
But
that's right.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
No, this whole stick here, this whole subject fits in. Right before I came on the air, I had some herring and sour cream. So, I'm right in with the whole deal here.
I'll tell you what, you talk to Murray long enough, and you look at some of the pictures of Carnegie Delicatessen.
Oh boy.
Oh, God.
And you could gain 7 pounds a week.
Just looking.
Yeah.
Just looking.
Linda made it.
Right.
2 nights ago, Linda made a corned beef. Oh, man, we're still eating it. It's great. It's just
what surprised me, Murray said, when you asked him, great question, which sold more, which was consumed more, corned beef or roast beef? He said it was about half and half.
Corned beef or pastrami. Okay. And you said half and half.
Beef.
Half
and
half.
I
was
was
surprised with that, too.
Yeah.
I was surprised with that, too. Yeah.
Oh, he tells some great stories.
Oh, he was great.
We'll have him on again.
Yeah, he was
absolutely.
Fun. He was
fun.
Peter, would you talk a little bit, because this podcast business is meant for those who like to vent. As you know, it's cathartic.
It is.
Would you and I were discussing, and Ronnie off the air, we're discussing the social media. And when we were kids, the social media was the schoolyard or where you played, where you hung with your friends. It was face-to-face. And the difference between what it was like when we grew up and what it was like what it's like now was brought to light by we're not going to mention names, it doesn't matter, but you had a Facebook experience that really riled you.
I had a Facebook experience that didn't include me. I just watched and read all of the comments on someone's page, and like Ralph said, we're not going to mention any names, but there was a bunch of guys. There was one person who had something on their Facebook page, and it was political, and a woman who I know commented on the post, and she was literally attacked by not the original poster, but by his comrades, his friends, his buddies, well, you can say friends because Facebook, you have Facebook friends. His Facebook friends attacked her in such a way, in such a style that back when I was growing up, if anyone said that to a female, they would have gotten hurt, badly hurt, physically hurt. I mean,
right.
The things that, and you know what? I said that the original poster on his page wasn't the culprit for the most base, the most disgusting comments, but he certainly saw them. It was his page. He never deleted them. He never broke in and said, "You've gone a little bit too far. This is not right. This is horrible." And, you know, I was aghast. I was totally aghast at the comments. The comments were just the dirtiest, most vile remarks, personal, just really, really bad. And it got me to thinking that back, like I said before, back in my day when I was coming up, the schoolyard and the playground and stuff like that, the gymnasium, the park, even the street corner, a candy store would be where you would talk to your acquaintances or neighbors or whatever, and you could get into a bad argument. And I'll tell you what, though, some of the things that were said to this woman, someone would have gone to jail. Because someone would have had to hurt somebody really, really badly, and they would have been arrested for it. Just totally uncalled for.
I haven't read it yet. I know the people involved. You told me the people involved, and
totally uncalled for.
I'm just shocked, but I would have hoped that the person whose thread it was on, whose page it was on, would have not only reprimanded those people, but for using those words to an acquaintance of his, a colleague of his on some level. I would have hoped, would have, I'm going to ask him why he doesn't at least delete the comment, if not defriend or block the individual who made the comment. And if
well, I'll tell you what, any decent person not only would have blocked that person, would have unfriended him, and would have apologized. It was just absolutely disgusting. It really was.
It is terrible.
And it made me sit back. It made me sit back and think and rethink that it's not worth it to be on Facebook with getting into those fights. I'm not going to call them discussions because
you avoided the fight yourself. But
I did. I initially thought I would dive in and try to, it was hopeless. It just really was hopeless because it became very, very personal, very, very derogatory, very personal, very disgustingly filthy, just pure filth. If there is such a thing,
there's someone that we know and like, and that presumably the person who didn't make the comment but allowed the other people to make it. And let's give him the benefit of the doubt until I find out that he actually saw the comment. I'm certainly not going to say anything, but we shouldn't treat people like this. The point of bringing the whole story back to the way we grew up and the times that we grew up in, kids could not hide behind a computer. They could not defame or make fun, bully other kids in other people's names, or this, that, and the other thing. And you don't see kids hanging together like they used to. You don't see kids playing ball out there like they used to. There's a lot of computers. You see kids out with their noses in the device, the devices walking around.
That's not going to change anytime soon, I don't think.
No. I agree. It's too bad.
I think there's a direct analogy to the low price. If you have a computer blip, if that's what you're looking at, and it could be blown up in any game and it means nothing, there's a direct analogy to dealing with the computer all your life as opposed to dealing with other children, other human beings, that all these shootings and stuff is a direct lack of respect for life. And you can't have a respect for life if you don't experience life, if you're sitting and it's just a computer in front of you or just a computer game in front of you.
That's so true. So true.
Yeah.
I had a very similar experience, and it happened to be with the same woman, and somebody was getting on her case, and I mean really badly, and I jumped in, and I said, this is ridiculous, you can't talk to her like that, and she responded, I can handle it myself. Well, and I backed away. Exactly same situation.
Was it the same person's thread?
No.
Okay.
But I remember I jumped in.
Yeah, maybe she needs some help in choosing her battles more carefully.
Well, I've spoken to her about that in the past, and she laughed me off.
Yeah.
But it's still no excuse. It's still no excuse.
No, it's so disrespectful and vulgar and terrible. It's ridiculous.
Well, it all may become moot because Facebook did something that it was so outrageous in releasing information to folks who could literally control the election. I'm beginning to think, and we thought it was contribution with Russia. Of course, Russia plays a part in it. I'm beginning to think they fixed the whole goddamn thing. That it changed the results of the election.
That's right.
And
absolutely,
somebody wrote a post that if that's the case, and they can link Trump to the Russians in that manner, then it becomes treasonous, and he could get the death penalty. And if that be the case, well, hello, Mr. Pence.
Yeah.
But
when you say the death penalty, of course you mean that he's going to be impeached.
No, I mean, this guy wrote a very knowledgeable post about the law that if they can catch Trump in fixing an election, then it's a treasonous act that is punishable by the death penalty.
There's a very, very narrow definition of treason, and
well, would you say fixing an election is treason? I mean, I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I don't know what treason is. You go back, as I said on a post, you can go back to the Democratic primaries. If you is that treason or what? Is any of it treason? But this guy is coming down. There's just everything around him seems. McConnell came out and supported Mueller, and I think he basically sets the tone for Congress from the Republican side, on the Republican side, and he's saying, look, anything, you go to fire this guy, basically, and we're going to step in. Because, so we'll see. We'll
the
see.
whole thing is
shall see what we shall see, my father used to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. We shall see.
Exactly.
You know, changing gears, if I may, switching gears.
Yes.
We're talking about all kinds of stuff. We're all over the place, which is good. Good. I'd like to just throw this out to you. How is talk a little MLB now, Major League Baseball. How, to you guys, because it is very different to me, how is spring training different nowadays for Major League Baseball teams than it was when we were kids? If I may just keep on talking before you answer, my feeling is this, that when I was a kid, most of the players, if not all of them, I'm not sure, but most of the players used to come to camp out of shape. And they would use spring training to get into playing shape.
Right.
Some of them even played games to get into playing shape for the season. Nowadays these guys are making so much money, and they come to camp already in shape. They've been lifting weights, they've been hitting baseballs, they've been throwing, they've been stretching, they've been running, they've been sprinting, they've been doing all this stuff. When they come to camp, they're ready for action. And,
well, could that be the cause? I'll play devil's advocate on whether or not it's helping baseball, helping them. Could that be the cause of injuries because the body isn't given the time to recover that players had in the old days when they had jobs, regular jobs? They couldn't work out 24/7 like they can and do today. So many more injuries take place.
That's fascinating. That's a fascinating question because when I was a kid, and Ronnie remembers this, and I'm sure you do, Ralph, when I was a kid coming up, I knew, and this has nothing to do with free agency. I'm not talking about that. But I knew that Carl Ferrilla was going to play over 150 games in right field for my team. Duke Snider was going to play over 150 games in center. I knew that Gil Hodges was going to play 150 games at first base. I knew Roy Campanella was going to catch 125 games. I knew Jackie was going to play 135, 150 games. I knew Newcomb was going to get 35 starts. I knew Erskine was going to get 35 starts. I just knew. Nowadays, it's all up in the air. You don't know anything. You have no clue.
Right. That's right.
At the risk of repeating myself with this little story,
Yeah.
I don't know where I told it or if I actually told it, but I heard it. It's a Dusty Baker quote. And Dusty played 15 years in the majors, never went on the DL.
Okay.
And he said something, words to the effect of, I didn't even know what an oblique injury was. I didn't know, let alone injury, I didn't know what an oblique was.
Mm-hmm.
So now you see, I'll bet 25% of position players that go in the DL go on for an oblique. It's an arbitrary number, just...
I know what you're saying.
I think you're right. I
know what you're saying.
It's X number. He didn't even know about it, and I'm sure that his off-season conditioning, he maybe played basketball, this, that, and the other thing. Weights weren't that big a part of it. And I always heard the expression growing up as a kid, muscle bound. Now, I had no muscles, so it was easy for me to say, well, that guy's got muscles, he's going to be muscle bound.
Right.
As an excuse for not building up my own muscles. But I always thought that you're more limber, you could stretch, you stretch, you're not for sports. There's more to baseball, the way it was when we were a kid, than just hitting a ball. I mean, now you could just hit the ball, hit 35 home runs a year. Doesn't matter that you're a DH. Doesn't matter that if you play, you can't get the runner over. You're paid. You're motivated to get good at the skills that are going to get you the most bucks. I'm not blaming the player. I'm blaming the system of the game that doesn't. You can't go to the bargaining table because you got the runner over from first to second into scoring position and gave yourself up. Where guys who could do that in the old days, like Red Shane Dingst, Al Dark, Grote, guys who could hit second, Junior Gilliam, those guys, it was an art that was appreciated. If they don't appreciate the art, then a player's not going to develop the skills to do it. And I'll just shut the hell up now and let you guys
I think that they're not running.
No.
They're not running like they used to. They're not running like they used to. I remember that before a game or in spring training, these guys were running from right field to left field, back to right field, running. You don't see that much anymore. And I think that's why they're having more injuries, because of the weights and all of this other stuff. I could be wrong, but
Ronnie, that rabbi that hired my buddy, the cantor, he said the same thing. Cantors don't run anymore. Running. In the old days, you got these legs in shape and your pipes would... You could sing in the old days just from the running.
That's right. And I think spring training is too long.
It could be
too long. It could be too long. And this year, at least, they didn't have the distraction of the BBC, not the BBC,
the World Baseball Classic, WBC. When we were young, there were many baseball stars. I mean, really big stars, and none of them had muscles. None of them.
No.
I'm serious. When you look at when I say muscles, I mean no one was built like Canseco and McGuire and that. They were like Rocky Colavito.
They weren't defined. Even the big guys like Kluszewski, if you look at his arms,
he was one. He was one.
Yeah, he's big. Boog Powell were big, but they weren't defined like they are. Even if they're not using supplements, weight training is prevalent because the home run is so much in vogue.
We came up with guys like Al Kaline and Roberto Clemente, and people like that.
Ernie Banks,
and
Henry
but Ernie Banks
Yeah.
is a perfect example. Ernie Banks is a perfect example of what I'm trying to say. These guys, back when I was a kid, coming up, and I collected all of their cards, and I watched all the games, and I watched all the interviews and everything, and I saw them in spring training, and I
saw Home Run Derby.
Yeah. And these guys were built like swimmers. They were lanky.
Right, exactly.
They were lanky.
Lanky.
They were lanky. They were
like Hank Aaron had it in his wrist.
Hank Aaron,
Snap of a wrist.
Aaron.
Davises, the Brutons in center field, the Verdons.
Yep.
They were normal human beings. They were just normal size. That's what we loved about the game. You didn't have to be a freak show.
I'm going to draw a silly analogy.
Okay.
And both of you are going to hate me for this, and after the show is over, you're going to say, why the hell did you say that? But I'm going to say it anyway. I don't give a shit. I'm feeling feisty tonight. I'm feeling feisty.
You are feisty.
It must have been the sour cream. When we were kids, a policeman, looked like your father with a policeman's uniform on. Mm-hmm. Or the guy next door with a policeman's uniform on. Or the guy down the block. Or the guy who ran the candy store with a policeman's uniform on. You don't see that anymore. Now you see cops, they got 20-inch biceps. They got a shaved head. They got a 22-inch neck. They got a inch neck, a 30-something inch neck. It's just unbelievable. It's absolute. And baseball players, when you see baseball players, there's no doubt in my mind that cops are on steroids. No doubt. And they've been on for 20 years now. Their heads are huge. They have no hair. Their forearms are bigger than my thighs.
On a daily basis, you can see pictures on Cop Block on Facebook, which is a very popular app of cops literally beating the crap out of people. And they're on camera. Imagine how this went on before there were cameras.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
Forget about it. Forget about it. But my whole analogy was, you take Ernie Banks, Al Kaline, Carl Furillo, Rocky Colavito, and you line them up, Billy Bruton, Bill Verdon, you line these guys up with the guys today that are being interviewed after a playoff game or something with their shirt off. These guys look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. These guys. And getting back to you, Ralph, saying about the oblique, something's got to give. Something's got to pull. Something's got to give. If you have all of those muscles all bunched all over the place, when you swing and miss, you got to pull something. You got to hurt yourself.
You can't build up tendons and ligaments. You can't make
only
them
the muscle.
stronger. So you're going to cause feet problems. If you've got a normal-sized body and then you bulk up to maybe 180 or 280, some of these guys, Tomei and those guys, hey, your feet, your legs, McGuire, with his bulk up, got a terrible feet problem. That's what held his career back more than anything. Because tendons, ligaments, not designed to support all that weight. And the flexibility itself of having all those muscles, it's a trade-off. What we're seeing is a group of fans, because baseball will do what it can to appeal to the fans. Fans just love home runs. That's what it comes down to. How hard did you hit it? How far? They love the speed of a relief pitcher. When a Chapman throws 100 miles an hour, they clap and they go crazy. Well, you could throw 100 miles an hour, but if you don't have an off-speed pitch that fools somebody, eventually they're going to key in on you. Not that Chapman isn't incredibly successful. So instead of instead of teaching the skills of an off-speed curveball, slider, or whatever, they're trying to make the pitchers throw fast. They're trying to train the pitchers to throw faster.
Throw faster and
that's
harder.
what gets the headlines.
And yet, we saw a guy in the not too distant past, like a Greg Maddox, who didn't rely on anything like that. He relied on his cunning. He relied on his brain. He knew how to get people out. He knew where to throw the ball. He probably never threw 90. And he's a Hall of Famer.
Well, let me tell you, those kids aren't unless you're 6'4" and a pitcher and could throw fast, you're not being signed anymore. A Bobby Shantz, a Whitey Ford, no way in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
That's right. Right.
I agree.
Hey, let's take a second and wish Carl Erskine a recovery. I think he broke a hip not long ago.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
I heard from Jim Denny. Jim Denny. That's a very good thought, by the way. I heard from Jim Denny that he is not fully recovered, but he's fine.
Yeah, I heard that.
He's fine.
What was the word you used? He's just fine.
He's fine.
He's not fully recovered, but he's fine. Thank God.
All right.
Yeah.
God bless him. He's over 90.
God bless him. About 95, isn't he? Yeah, great guy.
Not yet. He's a great guy.
Gave a great interview. As a matter of fact, I'm going to repost the interview. It's archived on Facebook. If you go to Facebook, Comfortably Zoned, and type in next to Comfortably Zoned, type in Carl Erskine. You outdid yourself, Peter. You were a terrific interview.
That was exciting for me. It really was exciting, and he was so gracious. And so,
he's such a great guy.
When I first got on the air with him, I told him how nervous I was, and even before we got on the air, and he told me, no, don't be silly, and this and that. And he calmed me down, and what a great fella. He continues to be, and I hope he lives another 90 years. I love the guy.
Me too. I love him too.
Well, I'm going to bring you in on this, Ronnie Rabinovich. Carl Erskine tells the story of playing in El Paso, Texas, a Dodger farm team at the time. And here comes the actual Dodgers in barnstorming. And Jackie Robinson comes up against Carl Furillo. And he either came up against him or saw him pitch, whatever.
Carl Erskine. I said Furillo.
Carl Erskine. I said Carl Furillo.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Carl Erskine. And Jackie, just a rookie himself, goes over to the opposing dugout and congratulates Carl Erskine, tells him that he's got great stuff. He'll soon enough be in the big leagues. He encourages him, makes friends with him, and that's the kind of guy Jackie Robinson was.
Right.
So, just want you to know.
True. Yeah.
You know better.
Carl Erskine told me when he walked into the Dodger clubhouse that Jackie was the first guy to greet him. Came up to him and said, I told you would be here. I told you would be here. It's too good to be down there.
He wrote a book about Jackie.
Yeah.
Carl did.
What I learned from Jackie Robinson.
I have that. Well, yeah.
Oh, did he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I will look for that book.
Yeah. It's a wonderful book. Yeah. It's great.
Good.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
10 after 9.
That's it for tonight. Yeah.
What do you think,
I was just going to say, we've had a good show. Peter, save your energy. You've got snow plowing to do tomorrow.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me.
I hope it.
All right. I enjoy you guys' company. Okay. It's one of the highlights of my week, and
I love it too.
You're both in addition to the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. So very pleased to have you both as friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel the same.
Mutual.
Peter?
Feeling is mutual.
Okay.
Good night to all our listeners. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Adios, everybody. Good night.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. My dog is saying hello, and this is Comfortably Zoned Radio, and you're listening to the 50s, when bums and jints walk the streets of New York. My name is Peter Trunk, and my co-hosts are Ralph Tycho and Ron Rabinovitz. Ralph, how are you today?
I'm better than I deserve to be.
I love that you say that. You say that often, and you know something? I concur. Ronnie, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, thank you.
There you go. It's very exciting for us. Very exciting night tonight, because tomorrow is the magical day. Life begins tomorrow, Ralph and Ronnie.
That's right.
Absolutely. Opening
We waited a long time for this.
We did. Too long.
Yes.
Too much snow. Well, not for Ralph, but certainly for Ronnie and me.
Too
much snow.
Right.
Oh, boy. Anyway, tomorrow's opening day. I'm all excited.
I ask you guys this, the same question virtually every week. Has it dissipated? Is it better? Is it?
Yeah, it's much better. 50 degrees here.
Yeah.
It was 50 degrees.
55 today. It was 55 here today.
And we're talking above zero this time. Am I right?
Yes, we are talking above zero. That's right.
Okay. Good. You got to differentiate sometimes. We've had a
How was it out there, Ralph?
Yeah, how is it out there, Ralph? We never asked you.
Today. It's 70 and sunny, and there's this is so humidity free in the East Bay in Northern California that it's such a pleasure. And if I gave up anything in leaving in New York, the culture, the museums, the sports, the food, the pizza, if I gave up any of that, I'll tell you, in a winter like this for you guys, I'm not really regretting it, because it's California.
It was a rough winter. It was a rough winter.
And you guys have really had it too rough.
And long.
So my condolences, but there are things where you both live that you won't give up for a myriad of reasons, and those are roots that you can't deny, and you can't just suddenly pull up. I was fortunate enough to have been stationed out here in the Air Force before I got the chance to plant roots, and that made it easier. But boy, back in those days, you had to be a pioneer to move, to give up the security of family around you, to decide how you're going to live in a world where there's unconditional love, and you're so used to conditional love of family that it's such a big adjustment that all these things that people go through. Anyway, I'm here, you guys are there, but in this homogenized world that we live in through the Internet, we're virtually all together. We get every game, we get every news break through Facebook and social media, videos, what have you. There isn't so much of a north, south, east, west thing anymore.
No, there's not.
No.
There's not.
Does that make sense?
You know how easy it would have been, Ralph? Do you realize how easier it would have been for me to follow the Dodgers after they moved to L.A. if we had all of this technology back then?
True.
No, it never would have been a Mets. You never would have needed a Mets.
Weird. Think about it.
Yeah, if you think about it, you could have followed it. I follow the Mets now as if I lived in New York back then, where for so many years it was ironic that the New York Giants moved to San Francisco. I spent 5 years without a team, from 11, whatever age I was. I think it was 11, till I'm 15, 16. Get a team. A couple of years later, I'm in the Air Force, and I'm stationed out in California, 5 minutes away from the Giants. And it was back in the days when it's impossible to follow your team cross-country. Just the technology between then and now is astounding. That I'm
like night and
carrying
day.
Around a little smartphone that has more computer capability than the UNIVAC IBM that ran base supply at Travis Air Force Base and took up a room.
Yeah.
So,
I remember seeing those on TV.
Yeah. They needed air conditioning to cool the motors and what have you running all the time.
Now those suckers fit in your pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that we could stick around for another 10 years or so until they come up with some sort of change your cells, replace your organs, do stuff to keep our asses alive.
That's right.
That'd be nice. I think we're a little bit behind the curve, though. I really do. What you're talking about, if I may be so bold as to tell you what you're talking about, I'm sorry, it sounds that way, Ralph.
No, you put it into words. You class up the joint.
If you and I were 21 instead of 71, I would say that you and I have a pretty damn good shot at what you just described. New organs, new blood, new this, new that. They're going to figure out all kinds of stuff. But I think we're a little late to the party.
Maybe not, Peter, because of genetics. They're doing things with genes that can that they don't even know about yet. 5 years from now, they're building up knowledge that 5 years from now we'll give them the knowledge to learn more knowledge. And you never
I get what you mean. Right. They're piggybacking, right.
Right.
So, hey, I'm hoping.
You never know.
The whole thing is keep from being hit by a bus in the meantime.
No, it's an interesting deal that you were born and raised in Queens and you were a New York Giant fan, and then you didn't have a team because Horace Stoneman followed Walter O'Malley out to the left coast, and then the Mets were born, and then you went into the Air Force and you went out to California, and you actually, not through really trying to follow your Giants out there, but you actually wound up following your Giants out there, and you stayed there when you were discharged. And Linda and I were very, very legitimately moving to Los Angeles five and a half years ago. We never made the move. But we never made the move, but we were very, very close in doing so. In fact, we announced it to the family and everything. It was a done deal. And for another show, we'll cover that at another show. For many reasons, we did not do it, and we stayed here. I was wondering, Ronnie, when you were growing up and stuff, you must have had those really, really bad winters every single winter. Did you ever entertain moving to Arizona, Florida, or California, or any place like that?
I've always thought about it, but no. I grew up in Wisconsin, so it was the same as Minnesota, weather-wise.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
But no, I came here for school in Minneapolis, and I stayed. I mean, I fell in love with the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
And then I got married, and I got grandkids, and all of a sudden, it's like pounding a stake into the ground.
Sure it is. Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
All of a sudden, you're stuck here. I mean, not that you're stuck here, but
I know what you mean by stuck. I know.
You know what I mean.
You're entrenched. Yeah, you're there.
Right.
Your roots.
Exactly.
Ralph used the word roots before. Ralph, let me just comment on something. You know what's really funny? Our friend here, Ronnie Rabinowitz, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minneapolis was the New York Giants farm club, and the St. Paul Saints were the Brooklyn Dodgers farm club.
Right. And let me correct you on something. It wasn't O'Malley that enticed Stoneham out of New York.
Okay.
Stoneham was on his way to said Minneapolis.
To Minneapolis, right.
Right. They were going to be the Minneapolis Giants. I have a picture of my brother wearing my hand-me-down Minneapolis Giants T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So that was when I was 10. They were gone. And if you give O'Malley credit for something, you must say that if he was going to move the Dodgers out of Brooklyn, and it's hard to think of giving a man credit when the sentence starts with moving the Dodgers out of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But you got to say he did it in such a way where he enabled the teams when they were making a road trip to come in and see both Western teams at the same time. Remember, that was half again as much as going to St. Louis from New York. So it had to be
the furthest west, right?
Yeah, you had to make it worthwhile for teams that were flying and coming out there. And he did keep the rivalry intact. So, but make no mistake, the Giants were going on their own and independent of O'Malley. And I got to tell you, we've done this, Peter and I, for like, if you include back when baseball fever days, communicating about how all this happened and, the similarities of being a Dodger fan and a Giant fan. There are virtually 1 to every 10 Dodger fans who still have a passion, who still woo the day that happened. There are maybe 1 Giant fan for 10 Dodger fans. I don't know why that is. I don't know why more Giant fans don't look at the Giants with as much
as they do the Dodgers.
Whatever it is that Dodger fans have. It was the Dodgers, the bums. They walked the streets of Brooklyn together with the fans. They shopped in the store. They walked to the ballpark. It was just...
They lived in the neighborhood. It was a neighborhood thing. And Ronnie could address this too, there were cliques on the Dodgers. I know that Furillo didn't hang with Snyder and Hodges and Reese and those guys. There were definite cliques. You guys could both talk about that, if you will.
Well, the first time that I realized, I became cognizant of the fact that Furillo was not, in fact, an asshole buddy of the Duke and Oysk and Pee Wee, was that first of all they didn't. Furillo had a. Well, we all have problems. I was going to say Furillo had a problem. One of Furillo's, I'm going to use the word problems. One of Furillo's problems was that he didn't feel like he fit in with those guys. He couldn't discuss the things that they discussed. Now, I'm not saying that Reese and Erskine and Snyder were discussing Shakespeare. I'm not trying to go that route. But Furillo was a little bit ashamed, can I use that word, that he wasn't a good speaker and he wasn't erudite and he wasn't, he didn't feel like he was in the same league as those guys. And I think he shunned them more than they shunned him. Plus, he didn't live in their neighborhood.
Right.
That's the way I get it. But that's the way it was. And thinking about Brooklyn, the Dodgers to a Brooklynite, That was their religion. That was their. They spoke of Dodgers constantly, all the time. Now, a Giant fan could live anywhere. A Giant fan could live in Brooklyn. He could live in Queens. He could live in Manhattan. He could live down the Village. He could live in New Jersey. The Brooklyn fans, by and large, in those years after the war, right before the war, and then after the war, lived in Brooklyn, and so did the ball players. The ball players were not in Manhattan, in some high-rise or in some hotel. They were down the street from you. They were in your butcher shop. They were in your dentist's office. They were in your grocery store. They were getting gas at the same time your dad was getting gas down at the corner for his old Plymouth or whatever. They were getting their gas, and that's the way it was. I mean,
that's true.
It was an amazing.
It was a family affair.
The young,
we all have stories of friends who maybe lived in the Bronx and were Dodger fans, lived in Brooklyn and were Giants fans.
Yes.
Or Yankee fans.
Yes.
And I've run into a number of guys who have stories to tell about arguments with their friends and being the only Giant fan in Brooklyn in their heads and all that. There's a certain glory when you're a kid about taking up the cause that if there's three kids taking up one side, you may want to take up the other side. That comes from having a gambler's mentality. Thank you, Hyman Ozer, for saving me from living under a bridge somewhere.
Okay.
And I got to thank Talie for that too. I might add, but that's another story.
Not to change the subject, but did you see last night the Dodger Angel game? What happened?
Yes.
I don't know if either one of you saw it.
A shitty circumstance.
Yes, it sure was. Their pipes blew up, and they were bubbling all over the field, and they had to cancel the game after the fifth inning.
The toilet burst.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like what's been happening up in the old dilapidated Coliseum that's about to be replaced. They've got plumbing problems, and every year the clubhouses.
And that's 4 years younger. That's 4 years newer than Dodger Stadium. That was built in 1966, right, Ralph? Dodger Stadium, 1962.
No, 60, maybe 68. No, 66 for football, and the A's moved out here in 68.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers started in 62.
62 in Dodger Stadium. So Dodger Stadium is older than the Alameda County Coliseum. They don't call it that anymore today.
Stadium still is. You have pictures when you were there. How did that stadium impress you?
Dodger Stadium?
Yeah.
Dodger Stadium was absolutely pristine, amazing, and the thing that got me, and I kept saying it over and over, and the people that I was with, including my wife and my cousin and his wife, they got sick and tired of me saying it so many times, but I couldn't believe my eyes as I walked around Dodger Stadium, both on the outside and the inside. I was flabbergasted with all the Brooklyn things.
Yeah.
All the Brooklyn pictures and statues and stuff like that, because I had read on the internet old Dodger fans saying they don't have any Dodger history there. They have no sense of Brooklyn. That's all bullshit. The whole place is inundated with Brooklyn stuff, both outside and inside.
As is AT&T Park inundated with New York Giant stuff.
Yes,
they honor the past.
That's good.
Also, then the Wilpons honor the past of the Mets by building their stadium to look just like Ebbets Field. Don't understand that one at all.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. It looks
one more stadium. Having a
Ralph,
statue
I'm going to tell you something.
in front of that stadium is ridiculous. Jackie should have a statue on every street corner in the entire nation, but not necessarily outside of Citi Field, which is a Mets stadium. They should have Gil Hodges and Tom Seaver, that kind of thing.
That whole rotunda is about Jackie.
I understand the Wilpons were Dodger fans and Jackie fans, but it's a slap in the face to a Met fan. I understand it was a slap in the face for a Dodger fan to play the Mets, an ex-Dodger fan for the Mets to play in the Polo Grounds, and all these things. Just Wilpon needs to honor Gil Hodges and make sure he gets in the Hall of Fame. You know,
he should be in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely.
Rizzuto went to the Hall of Fame. So why is it that Wilpon can't get Gil Hodges into the Hall of Fame?
He should, definitely.
I wonder. They should have a special days for that. Nancy Finley, who's the niece of Charlie Finley and a podcaster on this network, is trying to get a Elect Charlie Finley campaign started through this network. You're going to be hearing a lot about that. So maybe we can do some good along those lines. In any event, opening day tomorrow. What do you think as repeaters? Now they didn't win the championship, but they didn't win the World Series, but they won the NL pennant. As repeaters, what do you think their chances are this year? Remember how everybody comes after you when you're on top.
Yeah, right.
I'll let Ronnie handle that one first. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Well, I think they have a pretty good chance. Again, everything, injuries are key. Look at the Giants, what happened with those two pitchers. That's hurting them terribly.
Destroys
I
the
would
season.
say, yeah, absolutely. It's too bad. But I think that the Dodgers have a pretty good chance of winning their division for sure. The Rockies are something to think about too, I think. They could end up second place. I don't know. But we'll see.
Okay. Sure.
My take on it is this. I think the Dodgers, now, Ronnie, don't jump through the phone at me and grab me by the throat. The Dodgers have nowhere to go but down. I think their year is next year because I have a funny feeling that next winter you're going to see Bryce Harper on the Dodgers and Manny Machado and people like that. The Dodgers are going to go apeshit money-wise next winter. They're going to sign everybody, including Kershaw, and they're going to run away with everything for like 2 or 3 years in a row. I don't think this year is going to be their year, and I'll tell you very simply why I don't think that this is their year. I'll be rooting for them 162 times. Make no mistake about that. But, that being said, I think their only way to go is south, and the reason for that is when I look at the year like Chris Taylor had, I don't think he can duplicate that. I really don't. I just don't. I don't think so. Turner broke his wrist already. Seager, you'll mark my words, Seager's elbow is going to blow up on him more sooner than later. He's going to need surgery on that elbow. And Wood is not going to go 15-1 or 15-0 to start the season. Alex Wood, the pitcher.
Did Murphy get hurt as well?
Who?
Murphy.
Who's Murphy?
Who's Murphy?
The guy you got from the Mets.
Oh, that's Turner. That's Turner.
Wasn't there another guy you got from the Mets that was doing good on the?
Daniel Murphy is on the Nationals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's on.
You're thinking of Justin Turner, the third baseman.
You're thinking of Justin Turner, the third baseman.
He broke his wrist the other day. So
well, Daniel Murphy got hurt also, and that's where my confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that'll help the Mets.
Yeah, but I don't like to win by somebody else.
No, of course not. But you know, everybody goes through injuries. Everybody goys through injuries.
Yeah.
All 30 clubs.
Right.
All 30 clubs go through it. That's why they're pushing for a 26-man roster. They want that extra guy.
Well,
the Dodgers
do
it.
You know, hard to sell
I'm not,
unions.
I'm not sure how long they're going to do this, but even in the beginning of the year when there's so many off days, I don't know why the hell the Dodgers are carrying 13 pitchers. Are they for real?
Either. Yeah.
13 pitchers?
13.
In April?
13.
In April?
Yep.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's silly.
13 pitchers.
To me, that's silly. But next year, the
Dodgers
Dodgers will spend...
in an age of specialization, a starter goes 5, then you got a guy coming in at 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. God forbid you go into extra innings or play a doubleheader. Yeah, it's changing. When we were kids, it was 10 pitchers to a pitching staff.
Sometimes 9.
That's right.
Sometimes
I don't
9.
remember 9.
Yeah, I do. I remember 9. I'll tell you how I remember it.
Really?
I'll tell you. Yeah, I do. And I'll tell you how I remember it. When I would go to see a ball game, excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't have a cough button. When I would go to a ball game, of course, I would keep score, and I would have the scorecard in front of me, and you'd look on the scoreboard, whether you were in the Polo Grounds, Ebbets Field, Yankee Stadium, Jersey City's Roosevelt Stadium, whatever, and most of the time, instead of the uniform number, the out-of-town games, they would number the pitchers 1 through whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. And I would see that a bunch of teams would only go up to number 9. Let me try to explain that a little bit better to you. I just listened to myself. It wasn't a good explanation. Back in the day, in the 50s, in the early 60s, when I would go to Yankee Stadium, when I would go to see the Mets or whatever, the out-of-town scores were up on the scoreboard, and they would always list who was pitching for the other. For let's say you were there to see the Pirates and the Mets, but you were watching the Giants and the Phillies on the out-of-town scoreboard. They wouldn't have Juan Marichal as number 27. They would have Juan Marichal like as number 1. And you'd look in your scorebook and you'd see the Giants pitchers, and they were numbered 1 through 10 or 1 through 9. And a bunch of teams only had 9. They only had 9 pitchers. If you remember, I'll jog your memory if you don't remember, because you will as soon as I say it. Many, many teams used their stud starters in relief on the second or third day. When it was their turn to throw, like in the bullpen, have a bullpen session, you'd see Drysdale come in the 9th inning. You'd see Robin Roberts come in the 9th inning. You'd see Don Newcomb come in the 9th inning. You would see starting pitchers, because and this is the way I can prove that I'm right. Go to Retro Sheet and look up Robin Roberts' record and look at all of his seasons and look at the games he was in, and then look at GS. After G, you'll see GS, games and games started. You'll see he was in 39 games, but he only started 34.
Allie Reynolds was a guy who may have started just 16.
Right, you got it.
So he had five games as a relief.
Allie Reynolds came in relief a lot.
And if you go back to these games and Retro Sheet and box scores, sometimes you'll see guys batting. Why does, for instance, I can't even give you an example, but batting orders that just don't make sense in a logical way. To give you an example, Willie Mays batting 8th in the 6th game of the 1951 World Series.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
No.
And, batting orders were constructed differently. And there was a lot of hunch stuff going on. Casey Stengel and those guys, they changed the lineup based on what they thought a guy would do. And
back in the day, Ralph, they did have very strange batting orders. I remember Mantle leading off more than a few times. They had Mickey Mantle leading off when he was young.
Right.
And the batting position, 1 through 9, the batting position that Jackie Robinson hit in most often in his career was 4th.
That's right. That's right. And I just
by
thought
far.
of an analogy. I was
not even close. It's not even close. It's not even close.
I was
by
watching
far.
the 1952 World Series, Game 7, Giant Dodgers against the Yankees.
Yep.
And Gil McDougall's batting 7th, and Johnny Mize is batting 8th. So, go figure. Yeah. But yes, in all those years, he wasn't the most powerful hitter. Yet, Jackie, I would have batted him 3rd. He was the quintessential 3rd place hitter. Right. I would have put him there. But then again, you have Snyder, and making a lineup out of those guys: Furillo, Hodges, Snyder, Campy, Shotgun Shuba had to come in once in a while. And
he was a great pinch hitter. Oh, was he a pinch hitter?
Yeah, Gilliam led off a lot more than Reese at one time.
Yeah, he did. Reese led off until Gilliam got there. After Gilliam got there in 1953, it was always Gilliam, Reese, and Snyder. Gilliam, Reese, and Snyder. Gilliam, Reese, and Snyder. I almost got a tattoo on my arm that had Gilliam, Reese, and Snyder.
Gilliam, Reese,
that order. Yeah, Gilliam, Reese, and Snyder. That was it. That was all. That was it. And you know something? Even today, they have some strange lineups. How are the Yankees batting Aaron Judge 2nd all the time?
They were leading him off in spring for a while there.
They were leading him off,
to shorten up his swing a little bit.
Well, they wanted to get him more at-bats. Springtime doesn't mean anything. It's when the bell rings tomorrow. Then we'll see.
Tomorrow the bell rings. That's right.
Yeah. But you know something? Right. Somebody wrote an article about that, and they said Aaron Judge batting 2nd all season for the Yankees, he gets, I don't know how many more at-bats. I just grab a number out of the sky, like 67 more at-bats than if he batted
maybe
4th or 5th.
Something.
37 seems to ring a bell. 37. But anyway, he gets more at-bats, so that's one way to look at it. I remember Willie Mays used to lead off in the All-Star game. Look up the All-Star game, the old All-Star games. Willie Mays led off.
Doc led him off once in a while.
Yeah.
Well. And
so what do you think about
3rd? Who do you bat 3rd, Matthews or Aaron? That's a case in point, because Aaron was faster, and Matthews, I don't know. I guess it depends on what pitches you're facing.
Right.
Yeah.
All kinds.
So what do you guys predict for the games? Who's going to win their divisions? What do you guys think?
Ralph?
I can honestly say that with the Mets, with their starters healthy as they are, and the addition of Frazier and Gonzalez and Conforto coming back to form, and Pilecki becoming what I hope is the answer to their catching problems. Not only is he hitting better, but he's throwing guys out, and we haven't seen that in Met catching in a long time. And Nemo is filling the bill in center field, and Cespedes hasn't pulled the muscle yet, and it's only almost the season. So knock on wood from that standpoint. I can say the Mets can win that division.
Okay.
That
over the Nationals.
Over the Nationals, yes.
Interesting.
And I can give you a couple of good reasons.
I'd love to
One
see
of them is Rosario is absolutely outstanding, and he's getting better and better. He's got a lot of range, and Cabrera will make a solid double play combination with him. And like I say, with catching coming around, perhaps this it could be a case of them being strong up the middle, and their pitching is about to stay healthy, just by the odds of things. Last 3 years have been disastrous, especially
I'd like to see that for the Mets. I'd like to see that.
You have a team where
how about
Harvey is your fourth starter this year,
yeah.
and he's been terrific in the
Yeah.
spring. So,
all right, what about the Central Division?
Boy, my heart is with St. Louis, and I can't really tell you why, other than on my fantasy team sits a kid named Dominic Leone, who is a closer. Who was it? Gregerson, I think, got hurt, and it starts the year on the DL. And I managed to jump in and pick him off the scrap heap. He's got good walks to hits ratio, walks to strikeouts ratio, and being a closer with the opportunities could help me. So that's where my heart is in the Central.
And then the West.
As far as I'm concerned, I think the Dodgers will overcome.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is Kershaw, and we don't give him enough credit. 10 years now, this guy has been dominating. Which lefty would you pick if you had one game? Would you pick Koufax or Kershaw, gentlemen? You're Dodger fans.
I'll let Ronnie go
first.
That's
a tough one.
For me, it's easy.
Koufax, I'd say.
Koufax, absolutely. Koufax.
Yeah.
And that's taking nothing. That's the old
nothing away from Kershaw.
This is why baseball is so interesting to nerds like us, because we can talk about the difference between a Koufax and a Kershaw, and just like years ago, we could argue between Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. I mean, right. if the Duke came out third in that argument, that's no knock on Edwin Donald Snyder. And
right.
picking Koufax over Kershaw for one game, that's no knock on Kershaw.
No.
Koufax is the left hand of God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Now, when you pick
he was so incredibly dominating.
Yeah.
He would come in with the Dodgers from L.A. to Shea Stadium and just paralyze pitchers with that overhand curveball that you cannot brace for. You have to expect a fastball.
You're always
if you're looking to curve, you'll never catch up on the fastball. And it just would come in, and it was the prettiest thing. It would break in such a manner that it was absolutely unhittable.
And now Kershaw has a curveball like that. When Kershaw throws his curveball and it breaks 12-6, and the batter takes it for a strike, the crowd goes crazy. It's like a home run.
Right.
Because it breaks like 4 feet. It looks like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's unhittable.
Right.
It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. Now listen, you pick who's going to win in the West, who's going to win in the Central, in the East, the American League, National League, all that stuff. Let's search out what I like to call a sexy pick. In other words, let's look for a team, or teams, could be plural. Let's look for a team that no one is picking for anything, and let's see if we can pinpoint something. And like last year, for instance, I told people I went drinking around opening day with asshole buddies of mine from college, long time, and they would go, let's pick an outlier. Let's pick something that's going to be weird. And somebody picks, I forget what they picked. And I said, okay, I'm picking the Minnesota Twins to have a really unbelievable year. And they looked at me like, you've had too many Guinnesses. Put your beard down, there's something wrong with you. But now this year, let's pick an outlier. Let's pick either a ball player or preferably a team, but it could be a ball player or a pitcher. Let's pick somebody who's going to do very well that no one else. See, people go, well, who's going to win the West? They go, the Dodgers. Or who's going to win the East in the American League? The Yankees. Or who's going to win real easy to pick those teams. That's easy as hell. Let's go out on a limb.
Let me pick ball player first. Puke, because they're putting him weak. He's playing third base. He's batting third, and it's just about the time that he comes into his own totally. Yeah. So I look for him to break out. As a team, I would have picked the Giants before those two devastating injuries to Bumgarner and Samardzija. That knocks them out. The A's, if it weren't for Cotton, who I think has a big upside as a pitcher, they've got a lot going for them. So, but other than that, I don't have any sleepers along those lines.
I picked the Twins.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
Yep,
absolutely
I think so.
A good pick.
That's a good pick.
The Phillies have a way of coming back.
Yes, they do.
Like,
they're building too. They have a good team.
Yep.
Phillies.
Another sleeper could be the Milwaukee Brewers.
That's right.
Everybody talks up the Cubs and the Cardinals. What about the Milwaukee Brewers?
That's right.
Maybe, just maybe.
Right.
Could be. Mm-hmm.
This could be.
How about
Baltimore puts it together
beat out the Yankees
as well.
How about is anybody going to beat out the Yankees in the East?
The Red Sox can beat them out. I'm not saying they're going to, but the Red Sox could easily do it. They just have to avoid injury. The Red Sox are loaded. They're loaded.
Yes, they are.
They're loaded.
Yeah.
And they're looking for a big comeback from David Price. And if David Price can come back strong, the Red Sox are formidable, and they could be on the Yankees' neck all summer long. Ralph, you were going to say something before we said Yankees.
Oh, I don't think the Yankees can be beaten. I think their bullpen is so damn strong, and I think obviously their lineup is crazy nuts, go strong. They've got a little money left over on the soft cap in case they need help. And as Jack DeGraw of the Yankees show pointed out to me, they've got many, many prospects that you're not going to want to get rid of all of them, of course.
They do. They have young guys in the minor leagues.
Yeah. So mid-season, they need to make a deal for a veteran. They've got that. It's, as we all know, we've talked about that several times tonight, Peter. It's a matter of staying healthy.
Yeah.
Already the Yankees had Hicks go down the other day, which is got to hurt them. They're versatile. They've got a lot of depth, but they're carrying some dead wood in Ellsbury, who ironically may, when he gets better sooner than Hicks, come back and show some people some stuff in center. I don't know. It's just the day before opening day is just exciting. There are so many.
It is exciting. So exciting.
On every level, going.
Everybody's in first place. Everybody's in first place.
And it's fun when they take out the bunting. People don't even use that expression anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, the bunting. Yeah.
Bunting. Decorative banners that are in display in the World Series, the All-Star Game, opening day, that sort of thing.
They even spray that in the grass now. Opening day. They spray it in the grass behind home plate.
Yeah. Yes, they
even
do.
if it's for one day. They put it out there for one day. It's amazing.
Yep.
You know,
it is.
I want to jump back to the Yankees. Something could happen in tandem to the Yankees that will devastate them, and they won't even finish second. And that's if Tanaka's elbow blows out and CC Sabathia feels his age and his weight and he's finished. If CC Sabathia is finished, and I'm not saying he is. Believe me, I'm not saying he is. If he is, and if Tanaka blows out his elbow, you know, Red Sox fans have been waiting for Tanaka to blow his elbow out his entire career. Because when he was the first-year guy with the Yankees, they said that he might need Tommy John, and Cashman, the general manager, said, well, we're just going to give him a little bit of rest, and we're going to see if, you know, we can build it up. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way you can build it up. If he needs Tommy John, he's going to need Tommy John. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. So he blows his elbow out this year, and CC is fat and old.
They'll have a problem.
The Yankees have a huge problem.
Except CC is thinner than he had been, and if you look at his Yankee career, he hasn't been that bad. He's been fairly solid.
Yes, he has.
The key to the Yankees is they picked up and they paid a heavy price, prospect-wise. Fowler and a kid named Masita or something like that. But they picked up Sonny Gray, a kid with playoff experience for the A's, and he's going to anchor that.
He's a good pitcher. He's a good pitcher.
Yeah, and
I think we're going to see Matt Kemp having a good year.
Pardon me?
I think we're going to see Matt Kemp having a good year. I really do.
I wouldn't bet $1 on that.
I wouldn't either.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I would not bet $1 on that.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
I'm not saying I'm rooting against him. You know, if he's wearing Dodger blue and he's coming up, you know, with the game on the line, I'm standing up in my living room going, "Come on, Kemp,
right.
Come on, baby, you can do it, Matty, baby, come on." Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I don't see that happening. I really don't see that happening. I think he's broken down. He's abysmal. He's abysmal in left field. He's going to be like that guy. Who was that guy on the Cubs that could hit? Started with an SCHW. Cubs left fielder.
As
he
a matter
played
of
left
fact,
field
he got
like
hurt the year the Cubs won the pennants.
And the Yankees were interested in him. They wanted to bring him to New York as a DH because he would have hit 50 home runs. Everything he hits is up in the air to right field. But he played left field like he was on the ice in Madison Square Garden with skates on. That's the way he played left field. And that's the way Matt Kemp plays left field. He's horrible. He's horrible outfielder.
I'm just throwing it out, so we'll see what happens.
Terrible. Hey, I hope he hits 10 home runs in April.
I hope so, too.
But I don't think he's going to hit 10 home runs all year.
Yeah, I'm extremely disappointed that those guys on the Giants got hurt because it's always the year when there's a fair rivalry going.
What did Shamarja do to himself? I didn't catch the Shamarja injury. I know about Bumgarner.
Bumgarner broke a pinky, and I don't know
on his non-pitching hand
of what Shamarja did right off the top of my head, or
is he out for 6 to 8 weeks or what?
Take him to come back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, Shamarja was a great.
I'll be Johnny on the spot for next week's show.
Shamarja was a great tight end at Notre Dame. You know that, right? He was an All-American. Yeah, he was a big time football star at Notre Dame. Jeff Shamarja.
Wow.
Big.
I wasn't aware of that.
Star, yeah, all kinds of touchdowns and stuff. He was big man on campus, football star.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be fun. We're going to hear it.
A lot of fun.
We won't hear it though, but we can hear it in our minds. It's time for Dodger baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Vin Scully.
Well, it's certainly not the same without Vin Scully, but let me remind
you're right.
that the powers that be kept the majority of Dodger fans from hearing him his last year as a broadcaster because of the pettiness of the cable companies and this, that, and the other thing.
Terrible.
So big business has been screwing us up for a long time, and
yes,
it still is. Just
right, it's terrible.
Fans take the brunt.
Terrible.
So, after Bob Shepard, the public address announcer at Yankee Stadium, after he was forced to retire because he was on his way out, he was ill, very ill, Derek Jeter asked permission that when he came to bat, that they could use a tape recording of Bob Shepard announcing him every time he came to bat, and the Yankees did that up until the time that Jeter retired. I think what the Dodgers should do when they open up their games, their home games, there should be a tape that plays by Vin Scully. It's time for Dodgers baseball. They should play that before every game. And if they do already, I don't know about it. So don't call the show. Don't call the show and complain to Talie, our producer. Pete Trunk was saying things that he already knew. I don't know that. I don't know that to be a fact.
I don't think they do. I don't think.
But if it is a fact, I apologize. But if it's not a fact, somebody should get in touch with the Dodger front office, and they should do that. They should announce. They should have Vin Scully saying it's time for Dodgers baseball, and that would really rev up the crowd.
Let me make a correction now. We got, in the interest of fairness, Talie is the producer of Canachat on this network.
Okay.
You are the producer of this Dodger show. So,
I was giving her credit where she wasn't due. I'm sorry.
All right. I don't want you to alleviate yourself of producing responsibilities. So.
Okay. And with that in mind, I think we're going to come to a close. We can all catch our breath, and we can get a good night's sleep. And then tomorrow, it's play ball.
It's opening day.
Yes, I'd like to thank Ron Rabinovitz, and I'd like to thank Ralph Tycho for joining me, the Three Musketeers here, and this has been a Comfortably Zoned radio production. You've been listening to the 50s, when Bums and Jints walk the streets of New York. My name is Peter Trunk, and I'd like to thank everybody for listening and tell my co-hosts, fond goodbye and good night, and enjoy opening day.
Thank you very much.
Adios, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks again, Peter and Ronnie.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good night.